Ever since Technoblade got trapped inside of the Dream SMP Prison, Pandora's vault, there has been one question on everyone's mind. How will Technoblade escape? And the question isn't if he'll escape, because, let's be honest, it's Technoblade, and he's going to have a trick up his sleeve. In this video, I will present the escape method I believe will be most likely used. Enderpearl Stasis Chambers, aka Ender Porters. I will then give you the best arguments for and against the hypothesis and show you the experiments I have done personally to back up this claim. Then you can decide for yourself if you think Enderpearl Stasis is Technoblade's saving grace. Why are we discussing it in this way? Well, there are many ways Technoblade could break out of Pandora's vault, and we just don't have all the knowledge yet, so we are left to theorize and deduce from the evidence what would be the most likely. This is why I will give to you good reasons to believe and good reasons not to believe the Enderpearl Stasis hypothesis. If you would like more background information on this, I would suggest a video by a good friend of mine, SkellyViper. In this video, I won't focus on the lore, but rather the evidence and arguments concerning the Enderpearl Stasis hypothesis. I may also be slightly biased because I made a video way back before the prison was a big thing on this very subject, arguing that Technoblade or whoever was put in the prison could get out using Enderpearl Stasis. So I will try to be as objective as possible. Argument for Enderpearl Stasis number 1. Convenience and practicality. Enderpearl Stasis chambers are extremely easy to set up and use. They only require soul sand, water, and an enderpearl. If you would like to learn more about Enderpearl Stasis and how to use it in your own world, check out this video. Not only that, but like I mentioned in this video, using an Enderpearl Stasis chamber would get through every single line of defense in an instant. The hardest part is actually loading and triggering the pearl, but this can be accomplished in many different ways. A chunk loader would be a great way of doing it, but honestly, just getting Philza to do it would be way easier, and allow for more precise timing. But how would Philza canonically know if Techno was in prison? Well, Techno did give Philza a will before he left, and there could be information on how to get him out of there. If they were wise, they could have pre-constructed contingency plans on dealing with these types of situations. Argument against Enderpearl Stasis number 1. Too convenient. I got a comment mentioning how Enderpearl Stasis chambers would be too convenient. It wouldn't make for a good story. It would be too boring without any action, and that's a fair argument. But I would come back at that with this idea. Just because Techno escaped using Ender Stasis doesn't mean that that's the end of it. He could initially escape using an Enderpearl Stasis chamber, and then gathered together the Syndicate to attack Sam of the prison and potentially get Dream out in the process. Argument for Enderpearl Stasis number 2. Chekov's gun. Chekov's gun is a dramatic principle that states that every element in a story must be necessary and irrelevant elements should be removed. Elements should not appear to make false promises by never coming into play. Think of Chekov's gun as a form of foreshadowing, a plot device that is introduced now, but will be used later. How does that relate to the Dream SMP? Well, let me ask you this. Who on the Dream SMP has dabbled time and time again with Enderpearl Stasis? Technoblade. Back when he had the Hound Army, he used it to transport them over a great distance. They've also used Enderpearl Stasis in the Syndicate room as a means to get their allies together. So I would make the case that all of this is hinting at its use in the future. You could make the case that this could all be a coincidence, but I find that unlikely because this is the sort of situation that Enderpearl Stasis would be perfect for. Also, just as a side note, notice that while Technoblade was stashing away his items in the prison, he put his gear in his Ender chest. This could just be a precaution, but it could also be the case that Technoblade doesn't intend to return to this specific location to get his important items back. Rather, he intends to access them via a different location. Argument against Enderpearl Stasis number 2. Enderpearls despawn. This is the best argument I've seen against the Enderpearl Stasis hypothesis. And it goes something like this. When a player dies, all Enderpearls they have in stasis despawn. And this is true, but there's a catch. The Enderpearl only despawns when the chunk is loaded. We actually did this test live, right on this channel. Stay tuned for more streams, by the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my chunks to 2. We're going to go this way quite a ways. So we're going to unload that chunk. We're going to see if that pearl disappears. Okay, here we go. So it should be unloaded. We went far away from the spawn chunks, so that shouldn't be affecting it. And now we are going to die. Here we go. We're going to take a look. Here we go, chat. I don't know. Let's see. I think it'll still be there. It is! Chat, we've just done science. So as long as the Ender Pearl was in an unloaded chunk when Technoblade died in the prison, the Ender Pearl should still be there. So was the chunk unloaded when Technoblade died? Well, notice how Philza left the game when Technoblade went to the prison, and there was no one else there as far as I can tell. So I would make the case that the chunk was unloaded and the Ender Pearl is still there. So those are the best arguments I have come up with for and against the Ender Pearl stasis hypothesis, and in my estimation, I believe it's likely that an Ender Pearl stasis chamber will be used somewhere along the way in Technoblade's escape from Pandora's vault. But what do you think? Did you find these arguments convincing, or did you not agree with the information I have presented? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to discuss. Oh, and of course, thank you very much for watching.